Gambia's health minister has given an update on the current COVID-19 situation in the country. South Africa's government is set to provide $2.4 billion to support businesses affected during the recent violence. And Citizens Alliance presidential candidate vows to provide 1,000 jobs for the youths if elected in the December polls. Well, these and more coming ahead in this week. It is 19:31 from our studios in Banjul. This is iAfrica TV. Many thanks for joining us. I am Amadou Kante, and now the news in detail. And we begin with matters of COVID-19 in the country. The Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmad Lamin Samate, has on Wednesday given an update on the current situation of COVID-19 pandemic in the Gambia. Dr. Samate says the information or the misinformation in relation to COVID-19 is undermining the work of the health officials. The CISE has more details of that in this report.
Following the fast-moving surge of coronavirus cases in the Gambia, the Health Minister Dr. Ahmad Lamin Samate appeared on the media to give the current scenario of the pandemic in the country. During the start of the pandemic, analysis showed that the largest share of COVID-19 deaths is among those over the age of 65 and those with underlying health conditions. But the situation has, however, changed as even younger ones are dying from the virus, as explained by the Health Minister, Dr. Ahmad Lamin Samate.
We, however, are now seeing even younger people dying from the disease. We have discovered that up to 70% of the patients we are seeing now are infected with the Delta variant of the coronavirus. This variant is known to be more virulent, more transmissible, and leading to more severe illness.
Cognizant of the prevailing situation in the country, Dr. Samate calls for concerted efforts in the fight against the virus, as many patients in health facilities could be seen on oxygen treatment. Minister Samate outlined his ministry's plan to provide more oxygen plants in the country.
We continue to work on the treatment centers and other modalities of containment and prevention strategies to halt the spread of the disease. We are working very hard to have 3 oxygen generating plants for the country, 1 to be stationed in Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, 1 at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital Bakau Center, also called Deban Treatment Center, and the other at Bansang General Hospital.
The growing misinformation around COVID-19 has further eroded the efforts of health professionals in combating the virus, according to Dr. Samate.
But the sad reality about the COVID-19 pandemic is, it is so unfortunate, as some people are spreading the good message, some people are spreading the bad message and undermining the process. For whatever reason, I do not know. But one thing I know is it's very sinful to spread the wrong message, because the wrong message, when it is spread, people who may believe it may not go out there for vaccination. They may be at risk. They may die from the disease. So you can imagine a person misinformed an individual, and the individual decides not to take the vaccine and he dies. But that individual alone who got infected and died might have infected many other people. That is the risk with infectious diseases. That is why when we do not know about something, let us not talk about it.
Over the last 3 weeks, Gambia has witnessed a gradual rise in the number of coronavirus cases and deaths. The country has recorded a total of 7,709 COVID-19 cases, 6,600 recoveries, and 212 deaths. Recently, Gambia has secured 151,200 vaccine doses of Johnson & Johnson from the government of United States through COVAX initiative. However, it is estimated nearly 70% of African countries will not reach the 10% vaccination target for all countries by the end of September at the current pace. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Gambia's health minister there speaking on the current state of the COVID-19 pandemic in the Gambia. Now, despite being Africa's biggest oil-producing nation, Nigeria continues to face challenges in the oil business sector, with the latest being the recent increase of fuel prices in the country. Metros in the West African nation are lamenting on the latest situation, saying it will disrupt their activities by diminishing their incomes. The government has been initiating measures to address the challenges in the oil sector, but some experts believe the situation is still bleak. Let's have more details of that in this report.
54-year-old cabbie Mushinwa Vitalis has spent the past 7 years running his cab business in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. He transitioned from the regular flag down and pick to the digital ride-hailing app and now operates both to maximize profit. But lately, business has been tough for transporters like Vitalis due to the incessant hike in fuel pump prices.
When the fuel is increased, the price of fare will not even be increased. So it is affecting us much. So that is the area is affecting us. What we make in a day, we won't be able to make it again. When the customers are not ready to increase on their own side, then it will totally reduce our income.
Like Vitalis, many motorists have continued to bemoan the rising cost of petrol. A report from the Bureau of Statistics shows the cost of a litre of petrol in Nigeria surged by 82.5% year-on-year in June of 2021. That's from 128 naira to the current average retail price of 165 naira.
The increase in the price of petroleum products is simply responding to the weak macroeconomic fundamentals, especially in the value of the local currency, which is the naira vis-a-vis international currencies.
Government sources put Nigeria's petrol consumption at 50 to 60 million litres daily. That's notwithstanding the reduced economic activities triggered by the COVID-19 induced slowdown and insecurity. The state-owned oil company reports that as at March 2021, the government paid $294 million monthly to subsidize the cost of petrol following a surge in demand. But experts say this does not reflect the current economic realities.
If you have more factories closing, more unemployment, so much insecurity that people can't even go to their farms, how can we justify this kind of consumption? There is no evidence that we are consuming 60 or 50 million litres of petroleum every day. Rather, there is evidence that if we were doing 35 in early 2015, we should be doing not more than 2025 today.
Though there was a 1.46% decline recorded in the cost of petrol, it's not significant enough to make a positive impact on the economy.
I will let the price of petroleum float so that this idea of subsidy to enrich a few fat cats in the power corridors of power will stop. But there's also the challenge: the people are already impoverished. There's so much poverty, there's so much unemployment, there's so much insecurity.
Nigeria is Africa's biggest oil producer and sixth largest in the world, yet it spends heavily on fuel importation. Its refineries are dated and do not function at optimum capacity. Experts are calling for an end to the subsidy regime and monies directed into rebuilding the nation's refineries.
The recent increase of oil prices in Nigeria sparks concern among citizens, including commercial drivers. Now, following the Supreme Court's ruling in favor of 5 Gambians who took the IEC and the Gambia government to court over the issue of violation of their voting rights, the plaintiffs went ahead and sought for the enforcement of the Supreme Court ruling by the High Court. But the High Court in Banjul on Friday dismissed the application for the enforcement of the Supreme Court's ruling on the diaspora voting, citing lack of jurisdiction. Mariama Cham has more details of that in this report.
in what seems to be months of tussle in order to have their say in electing the country's next president in the December 4th polls. The Diaspora Gambians' final hope to vote has been shattered when the High Court dismissed their application for an enforcement of the Supreme Court ruling on their participation earlier this year. The Supreme Court had reaffirmed the diaspora's political rights by describing the continued disfranchisement of the Gambians living abroad as illegal and constitutes an assault on their fundamental rights. The dismissed application by the High Court was meant to enforce the declaration made by the Supreme Court for Gambians living in the diaspora to be registered and participate in the upcoming elections. The diaspora voting has created a lot of friction between Gambians abroad, the government of the Gambia and the electoral body IEC. Lawyer Abdullahi Fati, representing the plaintiff, says the applicant's lawyer could have requested for the Supreme Court to give an order for their declaration.
We filed a separate application to the High Court seeking enforcement of that judgment of the Supreme Court. However, the application failed. The court said that it lacks the power, the jurisdiction to grant the application since the Supreme Court had the power to have granted the application, and therefore, since the Supreme Court decided not to do that, a higher court, which is of a lower, of a lower category to the Supreme Court, but if it did so, that means it was, in a way, interfering with the decision of the Supreme Court. So on that basis, and over reason, the application failed, unfortunately.
Lawyer Fatu Mjao, who represented the Electoral Commission, says a separate application was filed for enforcement of the judgment made by the Supreme Court, which, according to her, also failed.
Like what the court said, the right thing that the applicants would have done was to go back to the Supreme Court and tell the Supreme Court to give an order or a consequential order of their declaration. Because, like the court mentioned, there are two kinds of judgments or declarations. You have the executory and the declarative judgment. So the Supreme Court gave a declaratory judgment. And in law, declaratory judgments are not enforceable. They are just declaring the existence of rights or certain situations. And it did not order the respondents, that is the AG or the IEC, to register the Gambians. So in that regard, you cannot enforce the judgment. So what the lawyer would have done, that is the applicant's lawyer, is to go back to the Supreme Court and file for them to give orders for the respondents to act on their declaration.
The application was brought under Section 39 of the Constitution, which the same section said it is only the Supreme Court that can interpret and enforce that Section 39 of the Constitution. The High Court said it doesn't have jurisdiction to enforce the judgment of the Supreme Court, considering it's a lower court. The civil suit includes 5 Gambians, Bakari Bunja Dabo, Chorna M. Jai, and Sidi Muhammad Sani, among others, that sued the Attorney General and the Independent Electoral Commission IEC. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
This is a report in there instead of Mariam Cham, as earlier mentioned. Now, following the devastating violence in South Africa a few weeks ago that led to the heavy looting and killings in different parts of the country, the government is set to inject more than $2 billion to help resuscitate affected businesses. The jailing of the country's former president, Jacob Zuma, sparked the unrest, causing a serious economic downturn in the country. Here's more details of that in this report.
The damage was extensive in several areas, and businesses looking to rebuild have turned to their insurers for claims to be processed and paid. South African state-owned insurer Sasria will settle valid claims for damage caused by public violence, strikes, riot and unrest.
But I think one mustn't underestimate the psychological impact. The nature of the violence, the manner in which it escalated within 2 or 3 days, and the fact that the malls were in the first line of attack. It has been quite a emotional and psychological impact on the industry as a whole.
The damage to the country's economy was also significant.
I think the vulnerability displayed through these attacks, as well as the actual quantum and reach of 40 billion plus damage and all of that unemployment, brought to a head all of the, I suppose, cracks in the foundation of the country from an economic, political, and I suppose, social perspective.
The situation in several damaged shopping malls in KwaZulu-Natal is complicated by additional criminal activity.
We've had incidences of the construction mafia that have now invaded these sites and demanding payment. So, that puts a whole new spin on whether you want to actually redevelop. And not forgetting that it is a quite complex situation where a lot of these property owners have huge bonds that they've taken from banks to build these shopping centers. So it's not something you can just, dust your hands off and leave.
Foreign investors that are invested or thinking about getting involved in South African businesses understand the risks and rewards.
We've actually had a couple of conversations in the last week with some international buyers, and most are seeing it as an isolated event. I think the $1 million is, where to from here, and what does the next couple of weeks look like? Is it a downward spiral, or is there going to be hopefully a little bit of a recovery and governments putting some fundamental interventions in place?
Economists have begun to quantify the damage to the country's economic growth.
So we try to get a sense just of the reduction in economic activity before you look at the damage to assets. And we estimated that to be 40 basis points impact on the growth. So our base case scenario was for growth around 2.7%. That has since fallen to 2.3%.
The country was struggling to emerge from a recession before COVID struck, and then the arson and looting occurred in the country's two major economic hubs. It set the country back and will require all hands on deck to restart the economy.
You're watching this week's news bulletin live on Africa TV, and from the report there in South Africa, we would now take a break and come back shortly with the remainder of the story. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
The locations, the design, the materials used, all the way down to the latest details, are few of many things that we focused on when we envisioned the airport residency. As proud innovators of community estates, the airport residency in Old Yundum, a project by Swami India International, offers unique gated community with 3 and 4 bedroom villas and duplexes. Just 5 minutes away from the Banjul International Airport. Luxury, convenience, and accessibility are some of the reasons you should consider this great housing opportunity. With a clubhouse, a playground, access roads, and parking facilities available for your dream home or a valuable investment, you will find all you need at Airport Residency here in Old Yundum.
Welcome back, and once again, many thanks for joining us. Now, the Citizen Alliance Party has promised to provide 100,000 jobs opportunity for young people within its 5 years of the party's leadership. According to the CS flag bearer, Dr. Ismail Assise, his government will avail young people opportunity where they can live in a decent life. The Assise again in this report.
Gambia, like many other countries around the world, continues to face challenges to provide quality job opportunities for its young people, despite the change of government in 2016. This has forced many youth to embark on the dangerous migration journeys to Europe in search of greener pastures. As the clock ticks towards the highly anticipated December 4th presidential election, one of the aspiring candidates, Dr. Ismail Assise of the Citizens Alliance, says CA-led government will provide 100 job opportunities for youth, while unveiling his party's 10-point promises to Gambian people.
We are making a commitment to create 100,000 jobs in the Gambia in our first 5 years. Not only that, we are making a commitment to progressively impose minimum wage in this country. Not only that, we are going to establish a scheme to expand women's access to finance. That is also a commitment we are making to the Gambian people. Women should get access to finance, to engage in entrepreneurship, to get access to land, to get access to assets. That is the only way you can empower women in this country.
According to Dr. Cisse, these jobs will capture all sectors in the country, including sports, music, and environment, among others.
Young people must get jobs. We'll provide skills, not any job, but jobs that pay and that can ensure our young people live a decent life. So that if you want to be a carpenter, you are a successful carpenter, you can buy your own house as a carpenter, get your own car, and take care of your family and yourself. So that if you want to be a journalist in the Gambia, you can be a successful journalist, buy your own house through journalism, and have your own car, and go on vacation once a year, and go out to restaurants to eat twice a week. So that if you want to be a footballer, you can be a footballer in the Gambia, you are a successful footballer in the Gambia, a professional one for that matter, you can buy your own house as a footballer in the Gambia, your own car, and you live a decent life as a footballer in the Gambia.
The Citizens Alliance candidate also challenged the Gambian people not to vote for them in December 2026 if the party fails to fulfill its promises in its first 5 years in power. Youth play a significant role in the development of a country, but lack of job opportunities in the country force them to use backway to Europe to find better living conditions. However, in order to reduce poverty level in the Gambia and to discourage youth embarking on irregular migration, there must be a need for the government to focus on improving youth employment prospects. Despite the huge promises made by the former and the current government in addressing youth matters, lack of job opportunities remains as one of the dominant challenges in the West African nation. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Cisse.
Citizens Alliance presidential candidate Dr. Ismaila Cisse there promising to boost the country's job opportunities and providing, of course, 100,000 job opportunities if he is elected in the 2021 presidential elections. Well, of course, from that report there by Cisse. Next, the fast-growing digital financial transactions in Nigeria is widely spreading in different parts of the country, especially in remote areas. The initiated mobile banking will help financial authorities to persuade more Nigerians into the banking industry. With the new trend in Africa's biggest economy, mobile banking will soon dominate the African market, according to some financial experts. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Olamide Haruno is one of the more than 20 million mobile money customers in Nigeria. Thanks to the rollout of the mobile money initiative, she's able to send, receive and save money at this roadside mobile money shop in the Nigerian commercial capital of Lagos. Before she resorted to the use of mobile money, she would need to go to a bank to carry out the transactions.
Well, I think using mobile banking is easy, is fast, and it saves stress rather than going to the bank to queue and all that. So you rather just go there once and for all.
Mobile money shops like this are now becoming common sights in Lagos and across the country. The Central Bank of Nigeria is hoping to leverage the initiative to achieve financial inclusion for the country's 38 million unbanked adult population. There are more than 20 licensed mobile money operators in Nigeria, including banks, with hundreds of thousands of agents providing the service to clients across the country. This also includes clients who are already in the banking system.
You know, in the entire value chain, there are a lot of players. So, you know, the value in it beyond, you know, fostering transactional services between players. Also, you would see that, you know, there are people who are actively employed by the people that are in that value chain. So there is the employment angle, there is, you know, trade.
Nigeria still lags behind some of its African peers in the adoption of mobile money. but the numbers are growing rapidly. In the vast rural areas of Nigeria, mobile money services are quickly becoming the main means of sending, receiving, or even saving money.
One of the things that I foresee, or that would be a huge deal breaker, especially on the economic growth side of things, is a world where we can then start to push cross-border transactions through mobile money.
With internet penetration rapidly expanding in Nigeria, in addition to its huge unbanked population, the prospects for growth of mobile money in Africa's largest economy look bright, and experts say it's only a matter of time before it becomes the leading player on the continent.
If you look at the numbers, scratch the percentage. Now, if you look at the actual numbers in terms of how many of our banks people are actually having access to financial services, I would say that we're not too far off from some of our counterparts in other African countries.
The Central Bank of Nigeria recently issued additional comprehensive guidelines to further regulate mobile money services in the country. The Apex Bank says it is still confident that ultimately mobile money will help make the difference in its financial inclusion campaign.
Mobile money banking is gaining momentum in different parts of the continent or different countries, of course, across the African continent, and we hope it will keep growing as well. And from that report there in Abuja, Nigeria, we finally bring tonight's news edition. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, as ever, you can visit on our website on africa.tv. But for now, many thanks for the privilege of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and do have a very peaceful night. Bye for now.